The Olympus 45mm f1.8 is legendary in the Micro Four Thirds community, but it's also 14 years old now. Does its reputation still hold in 2025? Let's take a look. The Olympus 45mm f1.8 was first released back in 2011. If that doesn't feel old to you, well, get this. 2011 was the same year that the iPhone 4S came out, the Samsung Galaxy S2, and the Nintendo 3DS. I don't know about you, but that feels like ages ago to me, because now we have the iPhone 16, the Samsung Galaxy S25, and the Nintendo Switch, with a Switch 2 coming out. Anyway, before I get too off topic, I think this lens can go toe-to-toe with modern-day portrait lenses, especially after you factor in the price. I bought mine in light new condition from MPB for about $200, but you can find it for $120 to $150 if you're patient looking for deals and don't mind a few blemishes. In comparison, modern-day portrait lenses cost more than twice that. But are the pictures any good? Well, in my opinion, it takes great photos. You'd hardly find a difference between this lens's images versus those from its modern counterparts, given the same settings and shooting conditions. Now, 45mm on Micro Four Thirds is equivalent to 90mm on full frame. That alone makes it great for portraits. This mid-telephoto range makes facial features come out lovely, and it's sharp as heck too. Focal length isn't the only thing that makes it great for portraits either. f1.8 is roughly the equivalent of f3.5 on full-frame cameras. You might not think that's wide enough, but from what I'm seeing, it still gets you that creamy bokeh and painterly background that's typically more associated with larger sensors. My eyes don't see any distortions, vignetting, or ugly flares either, regardless of aperture. However, I do notice one flaw. There is some purple fringing, especially on backlit subjects. The bright side is that it's so minimal that it's easily dealt with in post. Heck, it's sometimes unnoticeable. You might not even need to fix it anyway. The autofocus is also super snappy. My go-to lens, the 12-40 f2.8 that's recording me right now, a lens that I think is perfect and has never failed me a single time, this lens focuses just as well as that lens. This goes for both stills and action shots, by the way, and allow me to focus on the latter. So lately, the subject of my photography has shifted from nature to dogs. Dogs that, by the way, have little to no impulse control. So I need the autofocus to be faster than whatever these dogs have in their heads. And it is. That's not to say that my keeper rate is at 100%, but the shots that I missed are purely from my own mistakes, not the lenses. However, I do wish it focused closer than it does. The internet says its minimum focusing distance is at 0.5 meters. I think that's a little less than 2 feet. That's close enough that you can take pictures from an arm's distance, but not so close compared to its Panasonic counterpart. Having said that, let's talk about build quality. First of all, it's plastic. That's typically not a good thing because most plastic lenses feel so cheap that if you dropped it once, it feels like it would break instantly. But not the 45mm f1.8. Do I wish it was metal instead? Hell yeah! But I do think that even though it's plastic, it feels very sturdy and very well built. Plus it helps keep the lens light, and I think that's always a good thing. There's no rattling or shaky parts either. The focus ring turns smoothly, and there's a removable bayonet mount that you can use to attach a lens hood, which of course I did. I will say this though. I love how tiny this lens is, but honestly it might be too small. And I only say that because the filter size is so small, which means the lens cap is so small, and I keep almost losing it. I could easily fix that with a step-up ring, but then it would lose some of its portability that makes it so pretty, so I haven't really done it yet. Obviously, I'm just being nitpicky, and it's not really that big of a deal, but what kind of is a big deal, at least to me, is that it doesn't have any weather sealing. So I'm forced to switch to my trusty 12-40 f2.8 if it's raining or snowing. Also, some of the more modern portrait lenses have a customizable function button. This one doesn't. I've never owned a lens with that feature though, and I'm doing just fine without it. So to wrap all of this up, I 100% believe that the Olympus 45mm f1.8, in spite of its age, is more than capable of holding its ground against newer counterparts. The image quality is insanely good, the autofocus is fast and reliable, it's small and lightweight, and it feels top tier even though it's made of plastic. All that, and it only costs $120 to $200. So if you shoot micro four thirds, your work involves taking a lot of portraits, you don't want to spend a lot of money, then I think this lens is a perfect fit. However, it's not fair to you if I don't mention its flaws again. It can sometimes have some purple fringing, it can't focus closer than an arm's length, and the filter size is so small you're most likely going to lose the lens cap. If those things bother you, it's probably best you look elsewhere, but what do you think? Is this lens still worth your money in 2025? Let us know in the comments below. Peace out.